Okay, everyone. My name is Jordan Hansen, and this is Mike Bathke, and we are here to talk about term limits. We've both been big proponents of term limits, and there's been some advertisements that have come out against term limits. So we want to just kind of give our point of view. Not only from coming within as an elected official. I mean, we're essentially asking people to take our power away from us and put it back into their hands.
Right.
It's like, I would have 6 more years if I chose, 7, I guess, if you count the next year. 2 more terms, and you would have 2 more as well. I think we both know we're not going to be extending it to the maximum.
No. So I think we should clarify exactly how it's on the ballot.
Okay.
So it's 3 terms, so 3 3-year terms. Then you have to take off 18 months, and you can run again. Or if nobody runs in your ward, or nobody ran for mayor, and Mayor Hansen wanted to keep going, he would have the option to pull a petition, get the 50-some signatures, and be on the ballot. So
there's provisions for everything. So you don't have to worry about someone not running. And we already have provisions for that, right? If for some reason no one ever runs, and I have that on my sheet, when was the last time anyone saw a ward that nobody ever run?
Right.
I just don't know that that's ever happened.
Right.
And even if it did, we have an appointing system where the mayor would appoint someone, and then it would have to be approved by city council.
And that's been done before.
It's been done before.
Some, I think, council people on there now, that's how they got there.
Yes.
They were appointed.
Yep, exactly.
So it's not about personal vendetta, as it's been stated with me. I guess let's just start.
I saw some people think that it's like a personal vendetta against people. I think term limits are widely supported throughout the country. I think polls show that 70+% of the average United States voter would like term limits.
Yep.
And
all the way. From the national down.
From the national down. Exactly. And how many people signed the petition?
Almost
Hundreds.
600.
Yeah, almost 600.
So I don't know how it's a personal vendetta when you have almost 600 people sign it.
Right.
And it wasn't, to be honest with you, it wasn't very challenging at all. Of course, it helped with Arts in the Park, but I just did a Facebook deal, and people literally came to Arts in the Park to sign it, and this isn't a knock on you, but they left. Yeah. They specifically came there to sign that petition.
Yeah, your table was busy.
Yeah.
And you sat out of the way on purpose, which was good, to not make it like pushy. It was not very pushy. It was like, if you want to sign it, let's go.
Right. Yep. So I don't know if you want to talk about the flyer.
The things that I come back a lot is people say, we're not going to find good candidates or qualified candidates. My personal outlook, view of people is very good. We were discussing a list a little bit ahead of time. Not too long ago, we won one of the most intelligent communities in either South Dakota or the country. I don't remember which one.
I just remember, I know we went to Canada to promote it. There was a group that went there. I think it was 2013, if I'm not mistaken. We're Intelligent Community Year. And have we went backwards that much in 13 years?
We were Community
I don't
of the
think
year,
so, but that's
Community of the Year last year too.
Yeah, and it makes me think the way they're there is in the people that don't want term limits is there's only so many smart people that will run. Well, I'm sorry if you consider somebody not being smart. My idea of smart and Jordan's idea of smart is going to be different. Everybody has I've always said this when I've hired people. Everybody's good at something. You just have to figure out what it is. And this isn't
That's why I say not everyone can be. Not everyone can play first base. Not everyone can be a shortstop. You need a right fielder. You need someone good at everything, and you need a broad spectrum of people that know what they're good at. Some people might be good at business. Some people might be good at finance. Some people may be good in the public sector, the private sector, concrete, whatever. And I know that there's, 10,000 adults in the city. I just don't think that there's only 8 people willing to run.
And my wife won't like me saying this, but I have no post-secondary education. And
like college?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
None. And look at what we've done. And not just on city council, in our life already that we've done. And I just think that there's a institutional knowledge and institutional control. And I think that's what we have going on here. This group, I'm not really attacking them, I'm just being honest, that they're fearful of what? What if? And I've heard this, what if this, what if that? And I don't like what ifing, because I think everybody should be given the opportunity, and they will be. They will be given. If you I can remember when I asked the question when we talked about this in council, and the first time we voted on it, it was in first reading, it was 4-4 tie.
The only tie I've ever broke.
So it wasn't that crazy, and then it changed. But I guess I can't remember what I thought I was going to hear is, I guess I lost
institutional knowledge, institutional control.
Yeah, and I just feel like once the wagons were circled, they're like, oh no, we don't want this. We can't have this because we'll lose control of this and this and this. And I have no agenda. This myth, I just keep going back to it, like, what would be my agenda to do this? I want change in the community. I've heard people say they want change in the community, and they feel like this is the only way it will happen.
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up, because it's like, of the top 5 things, term limits is one of the top 5 things people from the community tell me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I would say, whatever, I'm not going to list the other 5. But this comes up a lot.
Yep. When I was campaigning for city council, and that's not what this is going to be about, it was the number one thing people would ask me when I would talk to them about it. I said, well, how do you feel about term limits? I said, well, I'm kind of all in on it because I went and got the signatures. And they're like, oh, it was you? Thank you. In fact, I want to jump to somebody else. So yesterday, somebody called me about term limits and then about the sidewalk vote the other night. And I had to clarify to her what I had said during the meeting, how I had to make the motion in a positive. But we got to talking about it, and I said, she was an elderly woman, and I says, ma'am, you realize we get paid to do this job, don't you? And she says, well, yeah, I assumed you guys probably get $50 a year or something, right? Folks, we get almost $445 a meeting. She about blew up at me, and she's like, you got to do away with that. And it's not going to happen because if you do the job right, you will spend some time on it. Do I think it's excessive? Yeah, I think it's excessive.
The time you spend or the money you make?
The money you make.
Okay, I was just clarifying.
Because you think about it, let's say you've been on there 20 years, and I did it the other day when I was on my way to work. I'm like, wow. So I did the math, and I'm like, there's some people that have almost made $200,000 being on city council. That's crazy. That is crazy. It's public service. It's not a job. And I'm not beating them down. They've done a lot of good things in our community and for our community. But man, there's like, I don't want to say no new ideas, but few new ideas that ever come, because once you're together for that many years, there's this bond you make. I mean, you heard it at the debate, the Fab Five, there's this bond you make, and they're controlling it. And there's no, I don't know how you break that. Get through a different idea might be actually better than their idea. And that's why I've always said about Mayor Hansen is, instead of fighting him on everything, why don't we do this instead? And I don't think we ever get to that point. And this would give us the opportunity to get to that point. I think whether he's sitting in the chair or someone else, there'll be all these different ideas coming to the table. And I really feel like we won't be looking for candidates. I mean, I say this sure, and I attribute it to what Mayor Hansen and I have done, getting people involved in the community. There was no chance that nobody was going to run this year. I mean, there's a lot of people running, and that's great. Win, lose, or draw, it's great, I think.
What was I just going to say? And I want it, like, to me, I've always, like most people I talk to, always want term limits just for everything. And it's not just for what's going on now, it's like for the future. Someone said, well, we don't have term limits at a national level. Well, we're also $39 trillion in debt. So I'm not sure that's the greatest, analogy.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like when you're new on the team, you're just very involved. You know what I mean? At least for me, like I come out of the gate run, like I'm excited, dude. New project, new whatever. It's like taking your kid to a new playground, dude. Yeah. They are excited. But what happens after a couple, hours at the playground? They get bored.
Burn out.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's what's happening now. I'm just saying.
Let's.
The other thing is like, what is getting brought anywhere that is new? You know what I mean? What new ideas have been brought to the table?
Right. I agree.
And I think there's people that are, like I talked to a lady in the grocery store. I don't like using that analogy for certain reasons, but they're like, I would like you to read something in public. And I said, I can't read your letter because then everyone would just want me to read their letters. I said, right. And they said, which we've both heard, well, going up to the podium is very nerve-wracking. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think that's scary to some people. So like, they just want to be represented.
Right.
A different,
Right. So the one thing I was reading on this flyer.
I wonder if anyone's still watching.
Constant public criticism.
So you're referring to a flyer that was mailed out?
Yeah, and social media pressure. I guess
when I saw that,
if something's constant, if the water faucet's dripping constantly, that's constant. I don't feel like when I go to that meeting, I'm like, oh man, who's gonna come up there and criticize us tonight and tell us we're doing a horrible job. I don't go in there with that attitude. I hope that they don't, but
no.
Yeah.
I feel the opposite, and as bad as it sounds, like I've used this analogy a lot, I feel like a celebrity a lot of the times when I go over, because people come up and they shake my hand and give me a high five and say, you're doing a great job. I don't agree with everything you're doing. Totally fine. Right. I think you're doing a really good job. Keep it up. Don't quit and run again. That's what people tell me. And I'm like, maybe. We'll see how things go.
Yep. But I've had one person, and I'm not going to tell you who it was, reach out to me, and I would say he may be part of let's just say it, the good old boys. And once I explained my thought process about the situation to him and clarified some things that he obviously didn't know, and I told him to do that, I never heard from him again. So I think once he had all the facts.
Like, what do you mean? You clarified a process of what?
So it was about the development by my house. He was accusing me of being anti this, and I said, so have you seen the plan? No. He hadn't seen the plan even. And he was calling me to let me know that he was mad that I voted against it, which I didn't. I just wanted it to fall in the rules that were already laid out by our city ordinances.
Oh, okay.
That's all I wanted.
Right.
So, but that's the one and only time somebody has ever called me that I can remember in 3 years and told me that they totally disagreed with me.
Oh, I've gotten calls for sure.
Yeah. But it was a great conversation. I didn't get yelled at, and I definitely didn't. I'm not online, but
I definitely wouldn't call it constant public criticism.
Right.
And I am online. I'm on social media heavy. You know what I mean? And I do get criticism, but dude, we're here to listen to the people voicing their concerns.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Power to the people. That's what I say. I mean, I think the more people, if this passes, I think people will be so surprised how many people get involved in the government.
I think it's, so here's what I was thinking about this, because I've been thinking about this a lot, is when, let's say you got 3 guys, 4 guys, 10 guys, whatever in a job, and all of a sudden the boss quits, the manager quits, whoever, what happens? Everyone's like, I want that job. There's an opening, it's a vacuum, and now all of a sudden everybody wants a job. For me, that's like the human nature of the power vacuum, that people want to get in there and say, you know what, it's my turn to go. And I think most people are good, you know what I mean? And if people are bad, like, this bad candidate we keep hearing about, I just don't think people are going to vote for him. Yeah. And here's the other thing. I remember what I was going to say now, is we often hear, if they're the best candidate, they'll win again. That's not true. It's who's the best at campaigning.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because you could have the best candidate with no money lose to someone that's not good with a lot of campaign money. I mean, look at how much money is spent on elections.
Yep. Yeah.
It's insane. Even what I spent was insane, because I want to do a really good job. But
I honestly can't tell you what I've spent. It'll be interesting to get the final tally. And the $400 a month probably won't go that far on this deal. But, like I said before, I'm not doing it for me.
I'm going to make sure this is still recording.
So one of the other things, the verbal attacks and occasional threats. I don't know anybody that's received a threat. And if they received a threat, I guess they should turn it into our local law enforcement, because that isn't right if it did happen. But I've never received one, and I don't know where they get that one from.
Maybe someone's got I've never have, I guess, for me. But I've been in 2 years. I don't know if that's not enough time to get.
So one of the last one I want to address is this deep involvement in complex issues like zoning, water projects, streets, and sanitation. I'm going to go right back to Mayor Hansen and his staff, the people that have been at City Hall before Mayor Hansen was there. They are great at explaining it and laying it out, not just for the council, but for the average citizen. You can totally, and I keep saying this, and I hope Joe don't mind, he is phenomenal at his job. And he does a great job of explaining it. It's black and white. This is what we need to do. This is why we're going to do it. And this is where we're going to do it. We're going to do it over here first, because this is the area that needs it first. And I just don't see how it's that complex. And when it comes to zoning, Mr. Johnson, he typically explains it all up front. The process, like we're going through with this sign deal now. And to me, it's there in front of you. You got to decide whether you want to go with the citizen or go with the applicant, basically, because that's what it typically comes down to. Seems like there's always one that doesn't want it. Not always, I shouldn't say it, but it kind of depends on what it is. Like daycares, those usually just fly through because everybody wants a daycare. So
I'm trying to think of deep involvement. Like, I feel like I have a pretty high level involvement in the, zoning. Not really. I mean, that's all.
It's laid out.
It's laid out in the zoning code for sure, yeah. Water, streets, and sanitation. like I get involved somewhat. Like I can look at the maps and check out elevations and see the water, the sewer, the storm. But dude, that stuff's complex. You need a college education for that stuff.
No,
probably.
I wouldn't say that. I mean,
like if I told you to draw up a map for like shoot me elevations and tell me where things need to go, you probably need like when you use their CAD
I wouldn't
software,
do it. No. I'd go to Joe and say, Joe,
that's
show
what
me.
I mean. That's
I know that's what you're saying because I've done that with Joe before. I sat with him
in our engineering department. I can see there's a lot of people in there, and Joe's really good at saying, hey, I need this, and then I'll get it back. This is the way it works. It's really cool. Council gives direction, like, hey, this is what we'd like to see. Then I go to the staff, and the staff already probably knows. And then the department head tells, his subordinates, hey, this is what we need done. Then they get in their software, they do all that stuff. If it's a different kind, they have, SPN or McLaury or someone else. And then those are the experts that come back and bring it. And then give a presentation for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then it votes approval.
So the reason I really wanted to address this today was when I reached out to Mary Ann, because at the very most, I don't want this flyer they sent out to deter someone from running, even if term limits doesn't pass, because it's like they're literally fear mongering. That's what it is. I mean, they're telling you can't do this because you might get a sleepless night. There's someone's going to come to your door and kick the door in for something. They're threatened by. That's not how it is. It's just not.
Yeah.
I mean, you think back to COVID, how heated and I was sitting in the audience, how heated some of that got. I don't think,
spicy,
I don't know that anybody, I sat through almost all those meetings.
Yeah, they might have got some threats during that time.
They might have gotten some threats, but it was the same people, and I'm not picking yes or no mask or anything like that, or open state or whatever, but it was the same people, and I think that, for the most part.
That issue could have had some threats.
It could have.
The prison was pretty spicy too.
Yeah, it could have.
Yeah.
I don't know, the prison, I think the threats I heard was, we're going to vote you out of office. That's the process.
Yeah, that's. I don't know if I consider that.
I don't consider that a threat. It goes back to you're getting more people involved in the process.
Yeah, and that's what people want. That's what everyone wants. And I try to be super open and transparent, which I think people appreciate, even if they don't agree with this stuff. It's like, this is what's going on, and then people like. That was like one of the reasons I ran, is because I was always like, why do I not know this? And what's going on? And, and people are like, it's a public deal. Like the institutional knowledge argument is like, dude, everything should be public information. We should all be able to know this and look it up. And
I came on at a really crazy time. The first thing we voted.
Were you elected?
I came on when the vote for the lake was coming up.
Oh yeah, Tim.
First thing.
Yeah.
First thing. So
that's
what
crazy.
they did, staff did. Mayor Everson and Stephanie brought me in. Brought me up to speed on what publicly I didn't know from being in the meetings. And it wasn't that hard to understand it. Yeah, I have construction background, but it was black and white, what the plan was to do. And, did some things get missed? Yeah. We found that out recently here. But we need to stick to term limits here. That's why we're here today. And I just don't want the fear mongering to deter someone from voting yes on term limits. Yes is to implement term limits. And I really think that this is, and I've said this before to Mary Ann, this is a generational chance to change how business is done in Mitchell. And I'm worried if we don't pass it, we will skip a generation.
So, okay, I agree with that 100%. And here's the other thing. It says like some of these projects take a long time. They don't take 9 years. You know what I mean? I don't know what project takes 9 years. Maybe the water project.
Maybe the lake.
Maybe the lake.
Lake has been there for a long time.
At the same time, it's like as soon as we made the decision, this is what we're doing, it was like 3 to 5 years max from the time, to, you know what I mean?
Right.
To where we're at today.
Right.
Like the decisions made now, the staff is taking it and the engineers are taking it. But look at the fire station. Talked about it forever, probably over 20 years.
Yep.
As soon as I'm putting in the budget, we took it back out, and then we were talking about it, and I just remember, let's talk about the fire station. We all kind of said, and it got done, and it's next year we're probably going to be opening the doors.
Right.
You're talking 24 months for something we could talk, or we could
years.
act.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like put your foot down, and I think, if I know what I have a deadline, like I'm getting stuff done. I'm not going to be like, well, I'm just going to do nothing.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
When you get into public service, you want to get stuff done.
Right.
If you don't have a deadline or an end time or a cutoff time or a deadline, whatever you want to call it, you're going to work hard to get to the deadline.
Right. So I just think we have a lot of people in our community that are qualified to sit in that chair.
I would love to see. I agree, and I think more people are discouraged by like challenging an incumbent than anything else.
And I would love to see, and I've told the rest of the council this in private. I would love to see 1 or 2 women run. I honestly can say this. If a woman would have ran, I honestly don't know that I'd have ran. I can honestly say, yeah, I just really feel like I have a very strong wife, Kay. She's very intelligent. She's very detail oriented. And there's something about a woman that just tells me, they're going to think totally different than me and you. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
That's just human nature. And I just think they bring a total different perspective to the meeting. And I would love to see a couple women run on the council. I can remember when Jerry Beck was on there. She was a great councilwoman. Great. And we need more people to be involved. And this is a way you get more people involved. And I think that you will deter so many people if we don't have term limits. People just say, I can't do it.
I never thought about this either. And I don't care, man or woman, whatever. I just think, like, who's best, who's awesome.
I don't either, but I'm just
who's
saying.
Involved and excited. Whoever's most excited to me is, that to me is important. But, every new person that gets in, they're going to bring their whole social group and their network of people. You know what I mean? And I think you're going to get a lot more involvement that way. Like, oh, man, I know a council member. People that I knew that were childhood friends or high school friends, they're like, now they know the mayor, that now it's just interesting to see like how much more that opens up a segment of the community.
Right. I gotta tell this. So when I was in high school, my government teacher was also my football coach, and I didn't like school. I'll be straight up honest. So I didn't struggle in school, but I wasn't a straight A either. I was out to have fun. Let's just say, but I can only imagine what he would think about me being in city government now, because it was probably the furthest thing from my mind, ever was from my mind. And, I go back to my wife, she ran against Mr. Barrington and it was close. And the next time it came, she's like, you're going to run. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea, honey. I'm opinionated and I'm just going to say it. But, after I started going to the meetings and I seen some, I don't know if you call it controversy, but some people disagreed publicly with the mayor at the time, Mayor Everson. And I'm like, well, I kind of agree with them, and I kind of agree the way they said it. They just said it. They didn't sugarcoat it. They just said it. And, we're going to get through it. And I love when somebody's just willing to say it.
Just blunt and honest.
Honest. And, everybody's got an opinion. And I truly respect when somebody's got an opinion and they want to, they're going to live and die on that opinion. I respect that. They chose a decision that they're willing to die for, or that's not a very good term to die for, but because those decisions aren't made at council. But it's just, I like when they're not a fence rider. Well, we could do it with this. Let's make a decision. Let's move on from it.
Yeah, they're just committed in their beliefs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right around, you got to respect someone. Yep. Someone the other day said, well, if you do that, I'm not going to vote for you. And I said, I don't care if you vote for me or not, dude. I'm doing what's right. Yeah. And next time I talked to them, they said, dude, I really appreciate that. Like, that was a really cool deal.
Yeah.
You should not be running for re-election. Like, 100%. I'm not saying you should be running.
No.
I'm just saying your goal should not be to get re-elected. Right. Your goal is to do the right thing.
Yeah, that has never been my goal. If you watch me, I'm like, we could have went in this kind of a lame duck and just done nothing for the last 6 months. And I could have voted.
But why would you? But I don't think people do that, because why would you run in the first place to be a lame duck?
And I think that if this passes and we get new blood on there, I think they are going to step away after 3-4 months and say, this is probably the best thing I've ever done, giving back to my community, because it's public service. It's not a job. I've never looked at this as, man, this is a job. Here comes Monday night again. Sunday I'm reading through the agenda. What do we got to do here? Oh, what's this about? I've never had that attitude about it. It's always like, wonder what we're going to do this week. Got it today, and as soon as it popped up on my phone, I'm like, well, let's see what's going on. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, it's going to be a short meeting. So I kind of took the $445 divided by 1 hour. Holy cows, that's pretty good pay, I said. And that's not why I do it, but it was like, it's crazy to think that there's nobody good out there. I think that's just crazy talk.
I agree.
Because there's always going to be, and if not, you know what?
I feel like you finish your sentence, so go ahead.
Well, if not, the incumbent can run again.
Right.
So there's a fail-safe built into this whole situation.
You only have to take 18 months off.
Right. And it wasn't
you
like
just run for mayor if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could. And it wasn't like I just conjured this whole deal up. It's exactly what the mayor proposed at council meeting. And I just took it, and
if nobody runs, you could still technically run indefinitely. It's not like
yeah. And I just think people will, I've told you this many times. We'll look back in 20 years, if this passes or doesn't pass, and we'll leave whether I'm here or not, and they'll evaluate and say, this really changed the trajectory of Mitchell, because we do need to change the direction of Mitchell, folks.
Oh,
because
I want to bring that up.
Yeah,
I want to write that down.
Because we're the second top 10 municipalities. We're the second slowest growing city. It's peer than us, and I have my different opinion why it peers on there. It's West River, I guess. I don't know. I'm not picking on Pier.
It's right on the river.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's Fort Pier that's west.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's just a town that balloons during session. That's just a fact. That's what the whole town's built around.
So here's my thoughts, and I was thinking about this really hard the other day. Like, what haven't we spent money on to try to make our community better? We got the water, we got the sewer, we've done all the upgrades to the Corn Palace, new school. We got a large donation from Roger Music.
Right.
We got, what else have we done? I mean, what else can we possibly spend money on trying to make our community more attractive?
And I don't know it's about spending money.
Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. I made a post the other day on Facebook because this is what I thought. The one thing you're trying to avoid is usually the thing that you need to do. You know what I mean? You ever afraid to make that one phone call with someone because you know it needs to be done? You're like, I'll push it off. I'll go mow real quick and I'll do the lawn. All of a sudden you're cleaning your house, but you just don't have the guts to pick up the phone. That's what you just pick up the phone and get it done.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think we know as a community what needs to be done, but it's just nobody wants to do it. It's like, let's just try this first. Let's try this first. We're running out of excuses.
Right. So when I took this petition out, you brought up something that clicked in my head. I was mowing one of my rentals and I missed a phone call from a guy in Brandon. I'm like, who's this? What's he want? So I called him back and he said, I just want to say, I've been watching what you're doing and I totally agree with you. Would you share with me your attorney's name and number so I can do this in Brandon? I'm like, whoa. He said, I'm going to wait and see how your process, that it all works out. And he says, I want to do this in Brandon. I think this is what we need in Brandon also. He says, because we have this group that I don't want to say they want to get out of the way, but he said something along the line. I said, well, that's not why I'm doing it. I said, it's not about getting somebody out of the way. It's about getting somebody else the chance.
Right. That's what I would like to make it clear. It's not like we're trying to there's no personal vendetta. We don't need someone. It's like just give someone new a chance.
Yep. I mean.
And I agree. Yeah. The election is a good way to do it. But in today's age, it's your name. Like I did some math. Like my Facebook has over 5 million views. You know what I mean? My name is going to be top of name recognition for people. Some might not like me, some might not, whatever. But the average voter who doesn't follow politics, they see my name and someone else's, they're probably just going to choose my name because I've seen that, okay, it must be, my life's not terrible for any reason, so let's just check the box.
Right.
You know what I mean? To me, that's an unfair advantage. Like I know I have an unfair advantage and I want to make it right.
Yep. Like you said, you don't... sometimes you got to get out of the way of yourself to let yourself grow. And I just think like we can't get out of our way of ourself and allow somebody else to have a chance at it.
And I want to give an analogy or like a story. The other day I was sitting in bed, I was sitting in a chair reading a book and my kid, 3.5, comes up to me and says, I want to read with you. I want to read with you. Obviously she doesn't want to read Business Leadership Tactics 101, okay? She doesn't like that. But she wants to read a book about a bulldog selling fruit called The Fantastic Fruit Stand.
Perfect.
And I'm like, man, I'm 3 words into this book and she's like, whatever. So I could have at that moment been selfish and said, you know what, I'm doing this for me. But no, instead what I did is I took a step back, I put myself on the back burner and I allowed the next generation to grow and thrive because that's what it did. It takes a personal sacrifice of my own to do what's right for the future. Right. And if someone doesn't do that for her, she would have been worse off had I have been selfish and done it. You know what I mean? Who was more qualified to read the book at the time? Who had more institutional knowledge at the time? It was obviously me. Yeah. But that's not a good excuse for the future.
No.
I should have said this at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because to me, that like handing down the knowledge is unreal. And you learned a lot of stuff on your own, but you had mentors probably in your life that taught you how to do things. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every time I did a lot of drywall before I had one guy say, you're doing it wrong, let me show you. And then I did. I'm like,
well, when awesome. I say I didn't, I didn't go to post-secondary education. I did. It was just in the work field. I always say, if I made a mistake, I just went to Dakota Wesleyan for 2 months, I guess, there. I always went back to that.
Every time I make a mistake, you rationalize your $10,000 mistake with that was 3 semesters in college or whatever.
And when he says $10, I've had them. I've had them. And you just, you know what? You just keep steering forward and surround yourself with good people and good things will happen. I just really believe that. And
how many times have you hired a guy and you're like, man, my other guy just left the job. He was really good. You hire someone new, awesome, better than the other guy. You know what I mean?
Hiring skills are not really good. Let's just say I would literally hire people over the phone, and my wife finally trained me a little better on that. I listened to my wife, and we actually started a little bit of different process, and it was, not to get off term limits, this is kind of a really feel-good story for me. I hired these 2 brothers over the phone, and we were working on the viaduct. And I told them, I'll be at the viaduct tomorrow at 6 a.m. And my gosh, they showed up, and here they were handicapped. I didn't know it because I didn't do the interview, but I let them work for me, and we had a great time. It was a hot day like today, and at the end, about halfway through the day, the one brother came to me. He was more talkative. He's like, "Hey, boss, this isn't for us." He said, "Do you mind if we knock off?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You're fine," but I paid him for the full day, because what they did for the rest of the employees, it really opened their eyes. Like, these kids, and they were kids, and they felt it was fun. They were lucky to have somebody allow them to have that job. So it goes back to terms. I allowed them to have that experience. And that's all they wanted. They wanted that experience to see if it was something they could do. And I've seen them around town before, and they always smile at me. And I went home that night and I felt really good about what I had done, not just for them, but for myself and for the rest of my employees. And we've talked about that when I was in business with my brother-in-law. We would talk about, you remember that time? Like, yeah, that changed my hiring practices. Mm-hmm. So it changed my thought process where I wanted to include everybody. But at some point, you just have to take that leap and say, I want to let everybody have a shot at this. Yeah. And that's where I'm at. I said it again. If elected, this would be my last 3 years. And I'm done. I'm going to get out of my own self, because everybody has a different way of thinking.
That's for sure. The one way I always say is we all have a cell phone, and nobody's contact list is the same. Right. Nobody with the way their app's set up is the same. I just thought about this today. There's 8 billion humans on Earth, and almost none of them, nobody looks identical. Even identical twins often have different. Right. We're all so unique, and we all bring something completely different to the table.
Right. So that's where I'm at with folks. Is term limits to me is about giving people chances to grow in our community and let them feel wanted. And like Mayor Hansen said, it's not just them, it's their social group that they're with. They're like, well, if Bobby can do it, maybe I should try next year. And, they feel like a little bit of ownership. And, if you have ownership in something, you're more apt to give it your all.
For sure.
And I don't think, I don't think as a community we give that to people, the opportunity. And they can say, well, the election process, it's not hard to get the signatures, but it's hard to go out door to door and talk to these people and say, hey, I'm running. But if you're not the incumbent, it's hard. It's hard.
And it's not that an incumbent can't be beaten.
Oh, 100% agree with you there.
But I mean, it's like, when you look at statistics, and they're not fun, but it's 80+% of incumbents win.
Yeah. Name recognition.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, he's doing a better job than the other guy who's never done it. How many people told me that? He can't run. He's never done anything. Well, how am I ever supposed to do anything if I've never done that thing? It's like a job. Your first job requires experience. What? Yep. How is that even possible? Yep. Someone's got to give you a chance.
Yep. And I've said this before. It was amazing how many people told me that, oh, Mayor Hansen, that's a train wreck waiting to happen. Are you sure? Are you sure? And like I said, I never knew him until the night he was elected. I went to his party and met him.
That's true. Yeah,
never had met before. And I just kept thinking to myself, I paid attention to the 3 candidates, and I'm like, he offers a different perspective. Look at our national scene with President Trump. That's why people love him. He's He's not a politician. And I think that's what we've become in our community is we have politicians, not public service. And it shouldn't be that way. And, Trump became popular. I think Mayor Hansen's became popular with people. Not everybody. The elderly lady yesterday, she told me she didn't like Mayor Hansen. She said, I don't like him. I said, that's fine. That's fine. You don't, and like you said, you're never going to please everybody. But to say that I've been threatened, no, I've never been threatened. I mean, I think that's actually, I keep going back to fear mongering. It's above that actually. It's like, I think that
they're making public service look bad.
Yeah. They're making it like, you don't want to do that because this and this has happened. And Jimmy, you go run it. That doesn't always happen that way. If you're good and you follow the rules of the group, you'll be just fine. And that's why I'm where I'm at, because I follow the rules and there's a different set of rules for them and a different set of rules for me. So
I just follow the rules. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and when I say that, I'm not breaking the law. I'm saying that I like to do what I feel the public wants to hear and see it. Just like the sidewalks the other night. I go to church at Dakota West then after Monday night, and I go by and there's a whole bunch of them that have my competitors or the guys running against me signing in their yard now, and I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, they don't understand the process, I don't think. That I made the motion to approve it in a positive like you need to do, but I voted against it.
Right.
And I just, and I explained this to this elderly woman that called me.
I remember the first time I ever saw that. It's like, you vote in the affirmative.
Yep.
So then you're not double negativing you're not doing a double negative vote. So then it's like, okay, so you voted no to say no. So you said yes?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the tough part.
Yeah.
And it is hard.
I don't think it's hard. I think once you do it
the first time I ever saw it, I was like, you're what? And then I'm like, okay, I get it now. Yeah. Just to move the conversation. It's the Robert's Rules.
Right.
Is it called Robert's?
Right. Robert's Rules of Order.
Yep.
Yeah. And, for the most part, I would say that, Justin and Stephanie, they keep us pretty focused on, that's the thing is, I say again, the staff at City Hall,
they're unreal.
I might not agree with them on everything.
They're awesome.
But they are. They're really good at what they do. And they grade it. If you're new, they bring you in right away. So it's not like
then you go to Municipal League.
Then you go to Municipal League.
So if you don't know, if you're still watching, is when you're elected, they go to a new elected officials like boot camp kind of thing or whatever, educational course. They put you in a room and it's like 6-8 hours. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was about 8 hours.
Yeah, It's a long one. And you get a lunch.
Yeah, I had a great time.
And they tell you all the things you should do, all the things you shouldn't do, like how to do whatever. They explain to you certain new laws, the history, like all kinds. I'm trying to remember some of the stuff that. But
it was very. I
wrote a 2-page thing in my book. Look at that card. I think it's nice. Sorry, that thing's cool. But 2 pages of all the things, and I referenced back to that for probably 6 months. So I don't know what it was that I remember, but I know I'm still doing those things today because it's now ingrained in my brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not someone that can sit through a long meeting and be attentive like that for 8 hours, but they kept bringing in different speakers, and I don't think that Marty Jackley spoke, but it was somebody in his office, I believe, spoke, and it was very interesting. It was a lawyer, and I mean, lawyers, but he was great dumbing it down where you can understand what to do and what not to do and how you handle this situation, And the cool thing is, and I've learned this myself, is they're there for you. The municipal league is. So if you think that you're not getting the answer locally, you can call there. Yep. And they'll answer the question for it or get you in touch with someone, it goes back to the First Street deal. I mean, I reached out to the municipal league that day, that next day, and it was that day because we voted that morning. And within 15 minutes, we had the answer, what we thought was going to be confirmed. And it's so simple. I mean, it really is simple.
The resources that an elected official has at their fingertips at all times is
so I don't want to. I don't want you to think like you're going to go in there and then you're going to go into a meeting and nobody's going to talk to you and nobody's going to help you through anything. It is exactly the opposite. Even like me and Mr. Barrington, we'll come in and we'll talk about some things that are there. Used to with some of the other ones, not so much anymore, but that's okay. I'm like I said the other day, I'm a very independent thinker. I can think for myself. I don't need somebody to explain something to me. If I do, I reach out to the powers that be, that Joe or Stephanie. And it works. Everything always just seems to work out.
There's so many safeguards. That's what I wrote in here. So even if we do, let's just say we get some crazy guy in there, which I don't ever see happening.
Why guy? No,
person. Crazy person. There's 7 other people that are going to keep you in line. That means, it's just not going to, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that goes back to fear mongering again.
And guess what? If someone crazy runs or whatever the case is, not saying it's going to happen because I don't foresee that happening.
No.
Someone is going to see within and they say, I need to run against this person.
Yep.
Like I need to,
Yeah,
that's when the inner leader will come out and, what do they say? A leader doesn't want the service. They just feel that they need to do it. They're just attracted and drawn and pulled to it.
Yeah, I really wasn't like sold on this to begin with when I ran the first time at all. And the more I talked to ex-councilmen that said, are you sure? To people that were on the planning and zoning, and they're like, you should do it. You've got the knowledge and you've been putting in the time. You should do it. And friends, family, some of my family thought I was nuts, but I there were so many people encouraging me to do it. And I think that's where this term limit deal goes. It will encourage a lot of people to say, maybe I should. Maybe I should try that. So that's all I'm asking is just don't be scared off by attacks and ads. And I'm assuming there will be other ones coming out here.
There's only a week left. We're almost done. We're almost done with this.
Yeah, but I just look for them to do something else. And there's always 2 sides to every story. I get it. If you don't think it would be good for the community, don't vote for it. I think that we have, like you have stated, we have tried so many things and we've laid out so many things, and we know I call us a yo-yo community. We go up and then we go down, and my fear is we go down more than we can come back up the next time. And I think we need to change the way we do things in Mitchell. Just a little bit. This isn't drastic, I don't think.
No.
Because you're still going to have a voice, 2 in your ward, and then the mayor. So I just think it's a generational opportunity. I really, really believe that. And I don't know how else to say it. I didn't just conjure up this idea to do it. People were asking me to do it.
And as you said earlier, and everyone knows it, people will buy into a plan that's theirs more than a plan that someone else came up with. Mm-hmm. They just are. And I think the more involvement, you give people more of an opportunity, but people just are like, how many times have you heard people say, I'm not running because they're running? Yep.
I'm guilty of it.
Yeah. You ran because someone else was running?
No, I didn't run because somebody was running.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just wasn't going to do it. I mean, just wasn't. I mean, it's ironic who took this out now.
I went all in. I was like, you know what? I'm in this thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I didn't even contemplate losing. You know what they say? If you don't have to have a plan B if you make plan A work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really didn't have a plan B either. It was just like, I felt like I was doing something really good for a community that had been unbelievably good to me. And I did have some name recognition from my business I would agree that was somewhat that probably helped me. But I also kicked down a lot of doors, knocking, and I think the thing with me is that kind of put me over the edge, I think, was the debates. And I wish we'd had more debates.
I wish we had more debates too.
I was.
I like these long form discussions. This Councilman Goldhammer said it should have been someone else, which I don't disagree that maybe a member of the media should have just sat down with all the candidates and did it. But someone's got to step up and do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I was a little disappointed, I guess you could say, in the questions at the forum at the college. I mean, I wish that we'd went in a little different direction and maybe talked more policy, the direction of the city instead of the politic part of it, Right. Talking about the guys going to the bar and stuff. That was just not really it was fun to have that question. I snickered about it. But yet, is that going to decide the election? It might, I guess. People might look at it like that. But I wish we would have had, and it's not just me. I had a friend of mine, doesn't live in the community, but he's very involved in this community and comes here a lot and works. And he's like, I was a little disappointed in the questions. And I'm like, yeah, I was too. But now that you say it, maybe it could have been a little bit better. And they were questions from the public, and that's who we got to listen to is the public. It wasn't like
that's what they want to hear.
The moderator was picking these questions. They would just literally bring them to him, and they, as long as it was a question that everybody could fairly answer, they would ask it. So, but
what else you got?
That's it. Get out and vote June 2nd.
It's coming up fast. Voting, the elections. It's funny. I was just looking back at this. This is like we voted on this in city council like a year ago, And then you said, I'm getting this thing pulled. And it was a year ago. Like, this thing's just been hanging out there for a year.
Yeah, when there's a draw, I will do a post that night about my real true raw feelings about this.
You haven't been doing that already?
No, not to the extent. I will tell you my true raw feelings. It will be...
You're toning it back a little.
Yeah, I probably toned it back a little bit. That's probably got to be wife approved and stuff. And so, yeah. But I've got a lot more I'd like to say about it, but I got to keep it PG.
You know, that's the truth. I mean, we both have been in meetings. You know, there are private meetings with city officials or like public officials, because you can't have everything in public because there's contract negotiations and stuff like that. There's been some stuff where it's like,
yeah, if back to their deal about being publicly criticized and yelled at and stuff, I've been yelled at more in executive session than in public. So that should tell you something about it's time for change.
Yeah.
You know,
I've never been. I don't want to say anything bad about the current people, but I've never had someone come up to the podium and yell at me. But I have had multiple council members scold me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I wouldn't say it was yelled at me. I shouldn't say that.
Scold is a better word.
Very harshly scolded. And to be honest with you, one of them, I had it coming because I got it wrong. I had it coming from one of them, and I took it and learned, and I learned from it.
Nothing wrong with admitting when you're wrong.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, you know. And I've said this I think I said it at the forum. When's the last time you heard a politician apologize? And I did it twice in 3 years I've been on there because I got it wrong.
I've done it a few times. I remember I went to the golf board once too. I went to a completely different meeting, went up to the podium and said, I'm sorry because I was wrong about something.
Yeah, but I've never been threatened with a lawsuit like Mayor Hansen is.
That was before I was elected. Come on, I apologize for that one too.
You're forced to apologize.
I wasn't forced to apologize. I did that on purpose.
So yeah, folks, we better wrap this up before we say something we shouldn't. But you know, I just truly want to say this, that this relationship that me and Jordan have, it's not fake. We have a very good relationship, and more working relationship than friendship. And you know, I think that's what our community, I want to take it to the next level, and I think he's the guy. And if I'm not the guy, so be it. But we should get behind our mayor, not walk in front of him all the time. And I think that's what we've lost in our community. We can only have one mayor. And I've been very clear with that. We can only have one mayor. We can have 2 or 3 mayors. We need to listen to our CEO. And I'm sorry if you don't like to hear that, but it's right in our bylaws. He's the CEO.
City code does say I act as the chief executive officer.
Yep. And I didn't just stumble on that. I knew it. And you know, I say a lot, and it bothers some people I say it, but I know my boundaries. And I think that sometimes there's some of us that like to push our boundaries, let's say. So there we go. That's a wrap. We better quit.
Okay.